I started my musical career some years ago when I was about 15, playing in bands back up in Edinburgh, playing keyboards. More interested in the technical side, so sort of gravitated towards studios and my own setup, which was back then really a 4-track or a Porta studio, something like that. And about 15 years ago, sort of moved up to the first Pro Tools setup I had. And from there on, just kind of accumulated a lot of the gear that you see around the studio, and then set this place up about 2.5 years ago.
As a player in bands for years, and then I got interested in the whole recording side of things. From then on, it was just like, production and programming and still playing. But for me, it's really from a band background as well, from like 13 onwards.
Just a couple of years ago. I think the online market is an interesting one because you've got bands that are collaborating as well. I've done some stuff with a singer, and he lives in Birmingham, and it's basically just exchanging ideas. He'll send down a very rough demo, I'll build it up, send it back, and then we maybe get together once every 6 months. The remix side of things, obviously, because of the technology, bands can do so much at home, but sometimes it helps to have that fresh pair of ears, or some really nice gear helping them just polish that final mix. Absolutely. And the expertise of somebody who's been doing it for a long time, and just the whole Silver Shark thing as well helps us bring a kind of new perspective onto things, maybe bring in things that they hadn't thought of beforehand.
We do offer, if you need extra playing or arrangements or even songwriting help or something, whatever, but we can do it fairly, just both of us really, whole productions from beginning to end. Yeah.
We did a remix for a band from Edinburgh where we kind of took the basis of their original track and really did add quite a lot to it, so that's where the production side of things comes in as well. So.
I mean, certainly with budgets nowadays, it's changed a lot over the years, which is why people are moving on to online services.
Yeah, I mean, we do any sort of big projects that we would be doing remotely, we would try and hook up a Skype call or some kind of conference call with the artist, so that we're not just going off and doing what we think they want. The advantage of something like Skype is you can actually see them as well, so you're not just on the end of a phone. You can get an idea of what they want, and they can get an idea of what you're offering. Favourite bits of gear in the studio? The Voyager synth.
At the moment,
yeah, it changes. It depends what we're working on. 1176 gets used on everything. The Massenburg gets used a lot. A lot of soft synths we use as well.
And the mAP comes out quite a lot.
But the Voyager gets used pretty much every track where there's synth needed. The Juno 10.6 gets used.
Yeah.
And in terms of the sort of recording side, the plugins, I say we've got the desk. Obviously we've got lots of EQ on the desk, but I do like the Phoenix EQs that are in there, the Massenburg, as I said. Probably my favourite EQ is the one behind me there, which is the tone control.
Yeah,
got a pair of them, which are lovely. But it really depends on what we're doing. If we're doing a rock band, then we tend to have more scope for a lot more kind of slamming it through the desk and using the hardware. If it's more an electronic project, then it tends to be synth based, so we're maybe not using as many of the external effects as we would use on a conventional band, because the synth can do a lot of it. And then he's fractal.
All guitar stuff's using the fractal. It just sounds amazing. It just sounds like a real amp. It's faster. We can do more crazy sort of stuff with it as well.
We do use real amps as well.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we don't impose the fractal on any guitarists that come in. If two of us are writing in here, then it's fractal, because by the time we set up the amps and get a sound that we want, we could have done it and recorded the track in the fractal. But there's a room full of amps next door that we've got access to. The real advantages of the online services is that it's that fresh pair of ears into it, where somebody could have been working on one of their tracks for months, thinking that they're getting somewhere, and then they hit that brick wall where they just can't quite finish it off because they're too involved and too close to it. Which is kind of what you used to have in studios before, where there was an engineer and a producer there who were kind of telling you what to do and just reining the band back in if they were going off and disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, being objective and actually having another person in the room, or persons in the room to actually help with, it's really different than working on your own, actually, sometimes. Even if you can do all the recording and do all the playing. Yeah, and to work with somebody else, it makes a big difference.